Oh, this week, at last, we're very, very honoured to have Richard Clark. Mind and consciousness. What is the difference? So Richard is an avid follower of science and puts out a weekly science newsletter and holds a weekly Zoom meeting on science and technology. Now today Richard will be helping us understand the difference between thought and consciousness for a deeper knowledge of ourselves. So please give a warm welcome to Richard Clark.
Now, good morning. As he said, I'm Richard Clark. Microphone. Excuse me, he said, press the button and wait a few seconds.
The one on top.
You got it?
30 seconds.
The one on top, move it up, move up a little bit.
Okay. Okay. Good morning again. Okay, applause. That's right. I'm Richard Clark, and I'm used to speaking at the Lake Chapala Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, and there they have a teleprompter. And so what I have to do today is work from a script. So I'm going to talk today about what I have learned about myself through things like meditation, which I've been doing since my early 20s. Maybe this will inspire you. Maybe this will challenge some of your ideas. I've been on a spiritual journey most of my life. It started when I was the child of an unusual mother. It took off with a 25-year study of Buddhism, and then really took flight more than 30 years ago when I met a genuine, self-realized master. There are not many of them, but I was fortunate to meet one. This led me to see myself and the world in different ways, and I'll try to express some of that today. We'll start with a story of a remarkable woman whose influence shaped my life. It was a different era, one that challenged conventions and pushed boundaries. It's a story that led me to deep understanding, which I'll share today. My story starts in 1943 when I was born in a family unlike many in Oklahoma. I was mostly raised by a single mother at a time when that was not common. I witnessed firsthand the strength and resilience of a woman, an extraordinary person who possessed a spirit that defied expectations of society. Her uniqueness, that's right, her uniqueness became evident as a young girl as she would retreat to the banks of the Red River and talk to Jesus himself. Now, you were supposed to love Jesus, but talking to him was just out of bounds. But my mother fearlessly embraced her own beliefs and followed her own path. Fueling her insatiable curiosity, she devoured books from the limited selection available in her small-town library in Oklahoma, constantly seeking to understand the world and life itself. In her teenage years, she married a man because he promised she could attend college. She divorced him after she graduated. She was the first college graduate in her family. My mother's influence on my life was immeasurable. She raised me without much influence from my father. He was away at World War II, and so my mother was my sole caregiver during those crucial years. And she nurtured me to have a sense of curiosity and a thirst for exploration, instilling in me the idea that there were the grandest answers for those who asked the grandest questions. When I was 6 years old, my parents divorced, eventually leading me down a different path, a life in California instead of Oklahoma. What a difference! When I was 10, on the bus trip with my brother from Little Rock, Arkansas, moving to San Jose, California, I was asked, "What is your religion?" Without hesitation, I replied, "Rosicrucian," because that's what my mother was studying at the time, and if she was one, I must be one too. In my early 20s, an experience with LSD sparked my interest in Eastern spirituality. It was through the pages of Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha that I started my exploration into the human spirit. Hesse's protagonist, Siddhartha, on his own spiritual quest, finally found peace just by watching the river flow by. Inspired by this tale, I sought to understand the depths within myself. For the next quarter century, I immersed myself in the teachings of Chinese Chan Buddhism, the predecessor to Zen. There was a small book, Zen Flesh, Zen Bones, by Paul Reps, that became my guiding light. The essence of Chan Buddhism lay in transcending the limitations of the conceptual mind. I read many books and thought to integrate the ideas into my life without a constant and consistent practice, though. Then I crossed paths with a truly enlightened sage called Nomi. Know me. Get it? Drawing from the teachings of the Indian sage Ramana Maharshi and his own direct experience, Nomi guided me towards a deeper understanding of spirituality and myself. Through a practice from Ramana Maharshi known as self-inquiry, I embarked on a profound introspective journey looking into the depths of my own being. It encouraged me to question the very bedrock of my beliefs and perception regarding the nature of reality itself. This voyage of self-exploration pushed me to confront timeless questions like, who am I? And what is reality? Seeking understanding, I turned to Advaita Vedanta, an ancient Indian philosophy rooted in the concept of non-duality that was at the base of Ramana's teachings. Within it, I found a revelation that resonated deeply. Advaita says that what is genuinely real is that which remains unwaveringly present, unfazed by the ceaseless ebb and flow of transient experiences. This concept, simple yet profound, ignited a flame within me, along with the guidance of my teacher Nomi. What is real is what is always. As I investigated deeper, I began to ask, what is it that persists throughout the ever-changing tapestry of my existence? I turned my gaze inward towards the depth of consciousness, and it soon became obvious that the world around me, with its fleeting thoughts and ephemeral emotions, all came and went like ripples on the surface of a tranquil pond, leaving no enduring marks upon the canvas of consciousness. Something within me remains unaltered, untouched by the tides of life. This essence, unlike the transitory phenomena that surround it, transcends the confines of ordinary perception, unseen but always there. I saw that this eternal essence, this unchanging core of my being, was not an object to be seized or grasped, but a profound realization that can only be experienced. It lay beyond the realm of thought and language, existing as pure awareness and presence. It was like the still point in the center of a swirling vortex, a sanctuary of unshakable tranquility amidst the chaos of existence. In the quiet within the present moment, this essence reveals itself. It isn't bound by the limitations of time and space. It's a timeless place where the finite and the infinite merge into inseparable union. Amidst the ceaseless dance of life, there is a profound and unchanging truth, a truth that beckoned me to go beyond the surface of appearances and dive into the boundless depths of my own being. The practice of self-inquiry has led me to self-discovery. It's challenged me to question the very nature of reality, to explore the eternal essence that resides within the depth of my consciousness. This eternal essence is beyond the transient of the world. It's not an intellectual concept, but a profound experiential realization that unveils itself in the stillness of the present moment, offering a glimpse into the timeless truth that underlies all experience. You know it because you are it. After we came to Mexico, I was on my motorbike passing by Walmart. It was a moment like many others, yet during this instant, a revelation struck me with a force that was impossible to ignore. In that very moment, I was graced with a profound insight that altered my perspective on reality. We, as human beings, often hold a steadfast belief that what we see, hear, touch, and experience is the truest reflection of reality. We trust our senses implicitly, relying on them as the unerring arbiters of what exists and what does not. But what if I were to propose to you that there exists a deeper, more profound layer of awareness that often eludes our conscious grasp? This profound layer, my friends, is none other than consciousness itself. It is ever present, unseen, and unwavering, the unchanging part of our existence, standing in stark contrast to the transient and ever-shifting world that our senses perceive. Paradoxically, we tend to perceive consciousness as ephemeral and elusive, while placing unwavering trust in the ever-fluctuating tapestry of sensory experiences that we navigate every day. However, the truth is quite the opposite. It is consciousness that is always there, and consciousness that is always the same. The things I experience change. Everything comes and goes. Consciousness does not. For years, I've grappled with a challenge. How do you talk about something that transcends the confines of the human mind? Language is composed of thought objects. It is limited by the objective nature of our thoughts and perceptions. How can I or anyone use words to capture the essence of that which exists beyond words, beyond the realm of thought, beyond the confines of our linguistic constructs? That's what I'm trying to do today. The challenge is a quest to shed light on the profound truth that lies within us all, waiting to be discovered, waiting to transform our understanding of reality itself. And so I invite you to embark on this journey with me, to challenge the boundaries of perception and language and explore the uncharted territories of consciousness, where the true nature of reality awaits our discovery. Recently, I listened to a talk by an Indian Swami, Swami Sarvapriyananda. He's a Hindu monk, chief Swami of the Ramakrishna order in New York. Swami Sarvapriyananda offered a perspective that may resonate with some of you and serve as a gateway to these profound ideas that have shaped my life for the past 3 decades. You see, when studying Chan Buddhism, I encountered a perplexing notion. The conceptual mind is the obstacle that we must overcome, and enlightenment is the ultimate solution. But how can you transcend the mind by thinking about it? Through my exploration, informed by Ramana Maharshi, I came to understand that mind and consciousness are distinct entities. The mind is a repository of thoughts, emotions, memories, and desires that constantly churns within us. On the other hand, consciousness is an impartial observer, untouched by the turbulence of the mind. Contemplating the fundamental question, who am I gradually realized that my identity could not be tied to the transient elements perceived by the mind. It has to be something more constant, something ever present. I am here all the time. Unshakable presence. How could it be made of transient parts? What remains steadfast among the ebb and flow of existence is consciousness itself, not the transient objects that consciousness apprehends. Even in the absence of external stimuli, consciousness is still there. So the question, what sets the mind apart from consciousness? At the heart of this lies a profound question, a conundrum that has captivated the minds of philosophers, psychologists, and neuroscientists. It's called the hard problem of consciousness. In 1995, an Australian philosopher, David Chalmers, coined this term, reflecting upon the Western notion that consciousness emerges from the material world. Yet, despite years decades of exploration, the essence of consciousness remains elusive, like a whisper in the wind that evades our grasp. In our quest to unravel this mystery, some have proposed a concept known as panpsychism. This old idea posits that consciousness is not a byproduct of matter, but rather an inherent aspect of the universe itself. This challenges our current understanding because it suggests that consciousness permeates everything, from the tiniest atom to the vast expanse of the cosmos. To reconcile a non-physical consciousness with our tangible world is not easy. Critics argue that the hard problem of consciousness may be due to our limited comprehension, a misunderstanding of consciousness and its nature. They assert that through scientific inquiry, we may eventually unveil the secrets of consciousness and how it is produced by inert matter. That's actually quite a question. How does something that is an inert suddenly become conscious? They don't know. So let's look beyond consciousness, though, and explore another enigma that really we don't think about much. I call this the hard problem of matter. What is matter? We look through the lens of science and engineering only to find ourselves adrift in uncertainty. First it was atoms, then particles, then smaller entities like quarks, and now whispers about vibrating strings of energy. The more we discover, the more we realize how little we truly comprehend. What then is matter? This talk is informed by a book by Evan Thompson, a distinguished philosophy professor. In his work, Waking, Dreaming Being, Consciousness from a Modern Neuroscience and Vedantic and Buddhist Perspective, Thompson reveals that consciousness studies are not a recent pursuit. They trace back thousands of years to the Upanishads in ancient India. To fully appreciate the depth of their understanding, let's look at India, where philosophy and religion have danced in discourse for thousands of years. In India, the pursuit of truth thrived through lively debates, such as an ancient exchange between a revered teacher and a woman named Gargi. Recorded 3,000 years ago, this debate was between a woman and a renowned scholar on the very nature of reality. What a testament to the spirit of spiritual inquiry. And the fact that the debate happened and they recorded it and it's been passed down for thousands of years shows the kind of interest in India in this kind of activity. Excuse me, I lost my place. To fully appreciate the depth of their understanding, I already did that. In religion in India, faith was the starting point. Faith brings inner peace and connects people to the divine. But faith also carries an inherent flaw: doubt. Doubt is the silent underminer of faith. Many among us have experienced the fading of childhood faith when doubts began to creep in. I think that's a common experience. And so the quest for an antidote to doubt commenced, leading to the path of discipline and experience, a path trodden by yogis, meditators, and Buddhists. This path, too, offers profound peace, but requires years of dedicated practice to attain profound results like samadhi. And yet, even these experiences can be questioned and attributed to mere brain phenomena, like observed in some stroke patients. But there exists even another alternative approach, a path that navigates the challenges of faith and the limitations of experiential practice. This path is the Advaita Vedanta, the teaching of non-duality. Rooted in ancient wisdom, Advaita harnesses the very fabric of our everyday experiences, our states of waking, dreaming, and sleep, to guide us towards an enlightenment that transcends the boundaries of conventional understanding. It is the path of knowledge, not the path of faith or experiences. Allow me to illuminate this distinction between mind and consciousness with a simple yet profoundly enlightening insight from the ancient text Upadesha Sastri from sage Adi Shankara. This is a wisdom that has endured for over 1,500 years. Within this timeless work lies a revelation that can reshape your perceptions of reality itself, and it unveils the essence of Advaita Vedanta in a way that's accessible. We learn from this text that anything that we perceive as this belongs to the realm of the mind. If it is this, then it is mental. The mind is a remarkable instrument designed to comprehend objects, to discern and know what lies before us. It's the tool through which we interact with the external world, forming judgments, distinctions, and perceptions. However, here comes the pivotal shift in understanding. It is consciousness that knows the mind. Consciousness, the eternal witness within, transcends the confines of the world of objects. It reaches beyond the realm of distinctions, judgments, and perceptions. In doing so, it offers us not just a glimpse, but a profound revelation of the boundless expanse of our true nature. This distinction is the heart and soul of Advaita Vedanta. It asks us to recognize that our essential self, our consciousness, stands apart from the ever-changing landscape of the mind. It beckons us to explore the infinite depths of our own being, to recognize our connection with the universal consciousness that underlies all existence. In this teaching, we find a path that doesn't rely on faith or mere experiences, but aligns our very existence with the undeniable truth of our own nature. It's an invitation to awaken to the profound unity that exists beyond the confines of ordinary perception, and to embrace the eternal wisdom that has guided seekers for thousands of years. Advaita Vedanta also makes two pivotal claims, and these are ones that will challenge your assumptions, I bet. First, they talk about the existence of only one consciousness, an eternal, indivisible entity that unifies everything. This revelation is borne out by the direct experiences of their sages and seers. Again, they've been finding it for thousands of years, and it forms the foundation of their pivotal insights. This ancient wisdom then proclaimed something else that is truly radical, and that is, they say, consciousness is non-dual. Now, what does that mean? That all the objects we perceive, the world that appears separate from consciousness, all these objects are, in truth, nothing but manifestations of consciousness itself. Every form, every phenomena is an expression of this. Just as waves rise from the ocean, seemingly separate, yet intrinsically connected, so too is the nature of our reality. Remove the ocean, and the wave ceased to be. In the same vein, without consciousness, there is no world that is seen. Such profound insights are not limited to any single tradition or particular culture. Spiritual and philosophical views of consciousness as the underlying reality of the universe have emerged in Hinduism, Buddhism, Jain, Taoist, Sufis, Tibetan Buddhists, tribal wisdom, and even the mystical teachings of Christianity. They all converge upon this truth. They echo what was in Jesus' words, the kingdom of heaven is within. It is the symphony of convergent spiritual teachings. To discover this truth within yourself, you do not need to seek far away. Simply observe your own daily experiences, waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. What do they share in common? Amidst the ebb and flow of your thoughts and emotions, there is an unwavering presence, consciousness that remains untouched by the ever-changing scenery of the mind. It is within you, always present, closer than your breath or the flicker of your thoughts. Reflect. What stands always knowing within yourself, untouched by life's ever-changing scenes? Even now, in this moment, here is the essence, an essence that has been the guiding star illuminating the paths of teachers, mystics, and gurus for thousands of years. This essence, profound yet remarkably attainable, is not far away. It resides within you, awaiting recognition. It's the fundamental truth that at the very core of your existence, it is the singular revelation, the recognition of your intrinsic essence. You exist. You know that you exist. Let's now just take a moment and notice your existence. You exist. You know that you exist. How do you know you exist? Is it from your senses? Is it from your mind? Or do you just know? This is a serious question. How do you know that you exist. This existence is without constraints of time or circumstance. It doesn't hinge on shifts of external reality or ephemeral experiences. Rather, it transcends the spectacle of life and remains an unshakable presence within you. It silently witnesses your thoughts, emotions, and life's unfolding, serving as the immutable foundation upon which all of your experiences are painted. Recognize the ever-present essence within that transcends language and concepts. Embark on a voyage of self-discovery leading to the profoundest realization of your limitless nature. Now, as I conclude this talk, remember that you are not alone in this search for truth. Throughout history, sensitive, intelligent, and aware individuals like yourselves have asked the grandest questions about the purpose of life, our origins, our destinations, and the means to unlock life. It is so close, closer even than your breath or your next thought. What is it that is always there? Just look and notice. And how can you be anything other than what is always there? So thank you. And now if you have questions.
Thank you very much, Richard. That was great. Yeah. So I'm sure we have questions. If you raise your hand, come on to the back here. All right. We'll bring the mic.
Thank you, Rick. I'm sure I'm going to lose some. Sure. It's not working. Is it okay?
I can hear you.
Take it away from your mouth.
Now I can't hear you.
Come into the.
What about consciousness and dementia?
Consciousness and dementia. What about it?
Dementia.
In dementia, the mind is messed up. The consciousness knows the mind perfectly. So it looks like consciousness might be messed up too, but it's just reflecting the mechanisms of the brain.
Yeah.
Okay, we have, oh. No?
I knew you were going to have a question.
It seems that
Does this work?
it seems that throughout history, at least Western history of philosophy and religion, there's a duality. And I know that Hindu theology, Eastern religion, has attempted to bring us into more consciousness. They haven't fixed this since the last time I came, 20 years ago. Don't we need both, is my question. And is consciousness is it not just really mysticism as opposed to rationalism? Do we separate the two? Can we have the one without the other? If we can't define consciousness to begin with, I've read many of those books you mentioned, especially when I was also smoking dope in Berkeley. And so that's where my questions began too. Who am I? Where am I going? What's it all about, Alfie? Will we ever know? I have a lot of questions here, but you've reflected on these. Is consciousness something that we will ever understand? It doesn't matter. And if we think we're there with it, when we see people being born and seeing people dying, as I have, where there's another dimension of time, is there time at all? I mean, all these questions, they're so deep. It was a great talk, by the way. I loved it, absolutely loved it. Thank you.
The first part is between mysticism and rationalism. Rationalism is of the mind. Mysticism is something else. In terms of, what were some of the other questions, Carol? You're asking old people to remember stuff. So after that, you had at least one other.
Is mysticism not, is that not consciousness? Because mysticism comes from the word mystos, which means mystery. We don't know. So is that not consciousness?
I don't know. It
don't know.
depends on how you define mystery and the context in which you use it. I tend to think that consciousness is bigger than mystery. And mystery resides within consciousness. Again, the difference is it some kind of object that can be known by your mind, or is it something else? Who you are cannot be known by the mind, because it turns out you are not an object. Somehow you are non-objective, and it's impossible to think about what is non-objective because it's not objective. And that's the stuff we're talking about. You're saying, can you know consciousness? And I would say, you can't know consciousness with your mind, yet how do you not know consciousness? Because that's who you are all the time. The thing is, you just don't notice. So the whole process of spiritual practice is getting rid of the ideas that stand between you and your experience of being as consciousness. So you don't change consciousness by your spiritual practice. Consciousness is already there. You just get rid of the baloney that's in the way.
Do you have any other? There we go. We're going to try this again. All right, try that.
How do soul and consciousness relate?
That's a big question. The way they look at it is they look at it as if soul is more connected to body, because soul in the Hindu idea is something that has transmigration that goes from body to body to body. And they say that when you are truly enlightened, this transmigration stops, because somehow you don't need to go from body to body to body to keep working to try to figure it out. You know what it is. And once you know what it is there always. Ramana Maharshi was dying of cancer. And while he was dying with cancer, he gave audience every day to thousands of people, because he knew that they came to see him, and he wanted to make sure they did that. One of his disciples was very broken up and was crying to him at his impending death. And what Ramana said was, "Where can I go?" If you are this non-dual entity that can't even be an entity because that makes it dual, then there is only being, and being doesn't go away. Being does not transform magically into non-being and then back again into being. Being just is.
So they're related. They're into
There's more questions. So far, I love the questions. These are very deep questions.
We're going to try this one. Oh, it works for me. The guy? Okay.
I hear you.
I noticed you didn't use the word God, Allah, Source, Universe. What holds it all together? Is that what you're referring to as consciousness, or is there another realm beyond consciousness that holds it all together and made it all happen?
I didn't use the word God because for most of us, God is another mental creation. We make ourselves and the world and our ideas about those with our mind. We also make ideas of God with your mind. The only God that they would talk about as consciousness is something that cannot be labeled, because as soon as you can label it, it ain't God anymore.
Okay. Any other? I'm lost now. Can you hear me? I always blame the sound guy. Any other questions? We do have an encore question here. If we.
Okay, come on.
All right.
All right. He's been studying it for 40 years, so he gets at least two
You
questions.
think you'd know something by now?
The older I get, the more,
Oh, you can't do it, can you?
the older. The old.
It's the universe.
The old.
Oh, sorry.
Phil and I used to do a routine together. You don't know. Some of you will remember us. The older I get, the more I see dead people. Okay? That's a form of consciousness that I can't explain, don't want to explain. And so for me, what your whole talk is absolutely brilliant. However, ultimately for me, life is the theater of the absurd. Because we do not know, and we can look at this in a very serious way, which is important, but ultimately it's really about laughing at it, not taking ourselves seriously, being humble, and that's a very important thing. A lot of religions don't have humility or don't practice it. And so I am preaching, right, because I am an ex-preacher. But there's this sense of humility about this. And saying, I don't understand it. I have these experiences. I'm very aware of my brain. But beyond that is this other realm that we will all eventually go to, which might be a realm of nothingness. But whatever it is, it's all absurd. We're here, and it's wonderful. And that's the happy part about it. Despite all those deaths we experience while we are alive. So would you not say that some of these great writers really talk about it all being absurd? Life is absurd because we don't understand. That's the question. Is it not absurd?
Is it not a question?
It's not absurd. To the mind, it might be absurd. To the mind, it's a lot of things. The mind has lots of thoughts. That's its job. The question is, what is your own direct experience of being, and what does it look like from there? In this direct experiences, the differences are all made by the mind, and when you're not using the mind, what differences are there? The mind is what makes the differences, and who you are has never been the mind. You just made it up when you were young and didn't know any better, trying to figure out what the world is like. Then you made assumptions about yourself being a separate object from the world. And the assumptions were useful to the child, but those same assumptions limit how deeply you can know yourself and the world. So this is what the practice is really about, is questioning those assumptions. And for me, even though I was interested in this stuff since I was a kid, I was nearly 50 before I started to question some of these things that I had assumed. I didn't even know I had assumed them.
Okay. Well, thank you. Can you hear me? Oh, yeah.